Here's a fact. Most people don't actually want you to fail. No, that would be too easy. What they really want is for you to do well, just not better than them. That's why they throw obstacles, doubts, and distractions your way, hoping you trip. But instead of stumbling, you mastered the game, played every move flawlessly, and left them staring in disbelief. And the best part, you didn't just win. You made sure they knew exactly who played the game better. Buckle up, because what comes next is a breakdown of how you outmaneuvered, outsmarted, and outplayed them all. Number one, you let them think they had the upper hand until it was too late. You let them believe they had the upper hand. You didn't argue. You didn't defend yourself. You didn't waste time proving anything. They assumed you were predictable, easy to read, maybe even weak. And that was your greatest advantage. They laughed at you, underestimated you, maybe even tried to sabotage you. They thought they were ahead, but what they didn't realize was that you were watching, learning, waiting. Every time they doubted you, they handed you a gift, a blind spot. They were so sure of themselves, so convinced of your limits, that they never even saw you positioning yourself for the moment that mattered. While they were busy celebrating their supposed superiority, you were stacking your wins in silence. They mistook your patience for passivity. They thought you had no plan, but in reality you had something far more dangerous: control. You let them set the stage, build the narrative, and underestimate you just enough to drop their guard. And when the time came, you didn't just prove them wrong, you left them speechless. The most brutal victories aren't loud, they don't need announcements. There's no dramatic showdown, no last-minute explanation. Just a moment where the people who once doubted you look around, confused, realizing too late that they've lost, and you've already won. Now they sit there trying to figure out how it happened, how the person they dismissed is the one they now have to respect. But here's the truth, you never had to fight them. You just let them think they had already won. And by the time they realized they hadn't, the game was already over. Number two, you weren't focused on winning, you were focused on eliminating the competition. Winning was never the goal, not in the way they understood it. They were chasing trophies, applause, temporary victories, things that looked good on the surface but had no real depth. They were so focused on proving themselves in the moment that they never realized the bigger game being played. You did. You weren't just aiming to win, you were making sure there was no one left who could compete with you. While they were obsessed with being first in the race, you were focused on removing the entire track. They wanted to be seen as the best. You were making sure there was no debate about who actually owned the space. That's why you didn't waste time on battles that didn't matter. You didn't fight for small wins just to feel good. You didn't chase every opportunity that came your way. You played smart. You chose your moments carefully. And when you made your move, it wasn't just to prove a point. It was to close the gap between you and complete dominance. The mistake they made was thinking you were playing the same game as them. They thought you wanted recognition, validation, approval. But while they were busy collecting moments of praise, you were building something unstoppable. They were competing to be the best in a system that they didn't even control. You were working to ensure that when the dust settled, they'd have nowhere left to stand. That's why they're speechless now. Because they thought they were ahead, thought they had you figured out, but they never realized you weren't playing to beat them. You were playing to make them irrelevant. And now that it's done, there's nothing left for them to do but watch. Number three, you played the long game while they were obsessed with short-term wins. They wanted results now. Quick wins, instant gratification, the kind of success that looks good in the moment but fades just as fast. They needed applause, validation, something to show off, proof that they were ahead, even if it wasn't built to last. You didn't care about any of that. You understood something they never did. Real power isn't taken overnight. It's built brick by brick until it's too big to fail. While they were chasing small wins, you were making long-term moves. They laughed when you didn't rush, mocked you for being too slow, convinced themselves that you weren't keeping up. But what they never realized was that while they were running in circles, you were building something permanent. Every choice you made was intentional. You weren't trying to win arguments, you were building leverage. You weren't chasing trends, you were creating foundations. You didn't care about looking successful. You were making sure that when success came, it would be undeniable and unshakable. Now look at where they are. Some of them burned out, exhausted from chasing momentary highs. Others lost everything, too distracted by short-term victories to see the bigger picture collapsing around them. And you? You're still here, stronger, smarter, untouchable. Because while they were busy celebrating, you were securing a future where no one could question your place at the top. They wanted quick wins. You built an empire, and now there's nothing they can do but watch.